this will also go out it'll be added to our blog. We'll upload it to YouTube and then share in the lead as well, so that again, like we know, not everybody can come to these all the time. So we want to be able to share as much information as possible with people. Okay, so people still might come in, but we'll just kind of go ahead and get started, let you guys know what the flow of the evening is going to look like. So as you can see, there's a few different representatives from CMC staff on here tonight, all perfectly suited to answer your questions about our new location here at West 32nd Ave. And we're excited to do so. Basically, we'll start, anyone who submitted a question via the form, we're going to prioritize those questions first. Just because we really appreciate getting those ahead of time so we can kind of prepare and make sure the right person is here to answer those questions. But I also will be monitoring the chat. So if you see question, or if you think of something, feel free to pop it in the chat. Hopefully we will answer it at some point through this discussion. But if there is time at the end, after all of the forum questions have been answered, we'll be able to get to those as well. So with that, let's see, people are going to keep popping in here, which I love.
I can admit them.
What's that?
Jeff said he could admit people.
I can admit people if they pop in.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so up front, I don't think I didn't see Norm on here yet. Maybe I missed his admittance, but I wanted to say he made a great suggestion right off the top through the form that the blog gets a little buried and it's kind of hard to find updates about the building. So we're working on getting like a new piece on the landing page that is building like our new base camp updates, so people can click that and go directly to finding out all of these updates, because as Norm pointed out, it was kind of difficult to find, and as like a new member who maybe isn't familiar with the website, it might be kind of difficult. So I just wanted to let you know that was heard, and we are definitely gonna try to elevate that presence so people can see that up at the top. So thanks, Norm. I know you're not out there, but hopefully you'll get to see this later. So we'll, again, just diving right in here. We had great questions, two questions from the first one from Robbie. What did the move do to CMC's financial situation? And then our next one coming from Wayne in the similar vein. As we noted in the last Fireside chat, with the sale of the AMC and associated maintenance costs, the CMC is moving to a more favorable financial position going forward, which will enable increased funding for our members and volunteers. What form do you expect this increased funding will take, and when can we expect to see some demonstrable actions? And like I said, that was from Wayne. So that, I'm just going to kick it off real strong and send that right over to our CEO, Madeline Bachner-Lane.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, and really appreciate the questions and the opportunity to get some answers to everyone. So I know with the sale of the building, there's kind of a pervasive thought that we're loaded now. And while that did put us in a more favorable position, we are going to be fiscally responsible with that, which means that it primarily is building reserves for us. So the sale of the AMC allowed us to address some priorities. One, we purchased a new building. And two, we were able to pay some outstanding payments back to groups. And what remains is being handled by CMC Leadership and the finance committee, specifically from the board, to make sure that we're set up for sustainability for the future. And so the board of directors and the finance committee are committed to investing that well and making sure that we have reserves in the future. In terms of actionable items, what you're going to see mostly is this building and updates to the building that will allow us to run the courses and classes that we'll talk about in a few minutes here. And I don't want it to be a surprise, we will be starting a capital campaign. the money that we have needs to be a reserve for our future that sets us up for continued sustainability. So we'll be starting a capital campaign to be able to add all the updates and amazing things that we need and want in the building, in and around the building. So look for that coming up. And then we'll also, I think the other thing is not a secret that we often have cash flow issues and cash crunches throughout the year, particularly in the summer. And those reserves, while it's not very exciting to have a big savings account, allow us to have a smoother movement of money within the CMC and externally as well. So my hope is that that puts us not only in a better position in terms of assets, but also in terms of our ability to address problems that come up. Anyone who's a homeowner or building owner knows that things will happen. We'll need to address those, and allows us to, pay back receipts and things like that that have been problems in the past. So I'm looking forward to having a smoother cash flow throughout the year. So again, not super exciting, but we're financially responsible and conservative. So we're going to keep reserves and keep building out this amazing new space that we have.
Thank you, Madeline. I know it doesn't sound exciting, but it is exciting. That sustainability is super exciting. Oh,
I can answer that just to get that out of the way. The CMC purchased the building, so we own the building where we live now.
Which is actually, again, a very perfect segue because, Joe, I appreciate that. Robbie also asked the same question about, are we leasing? Did we buy? And then Norm, again, offered, it would be helpful for, not everyone on this call has been able to see the new space. And even the quick Google search that you do, it doesn't really give you the best idea of what it looks like. Norm asked that we maybe take a look at an overhead floor plan of the building. There was also a request for labels and capacities for each room, which you will see shortly why that is difficult. So I'm going to have Madeline share her screen for this one.
Great. So I'm going to take y'all on a little tour. Everyone should be able to see an image of a black and white drawing with a green strip and a blue strip on it. If you can't see that, say something in the chat. But what we're looking at is the building from the top. The northern aspect is the top of the page. So it's oriented north, facing north. As you enter the building, which I'm circling with my cursor right now, that's the main entrance to the building. You come into the membership spaces. So this is, Roger has a desk right here and Mary right here. Everything in green to the left is being occupied by actually the folks who sold us the building. They are remaining in those offices. They have a 2-year lease right now that we've set up with them. So that is not CMC space. That is currently rentable space that they're using. So CMC occupies the whole eastern side of the building over here. So if you walk back from the main entrance, there's a conference room on the left. That's really the only space that's currently set up as a usable space. It houses about 12 to 15 people around a big conference table. And then there's a small kitchen, and we have a small lounge area that's very similar to the couch area that we had in the old office. This huge open space here is a combination of the sanctuary from the old church, this large front area, and then a gym. It's a full-on basketball court. Those spaces are just that, sanctuary full of pews and a gym. We have a lot of plans and ideas. We are currently in the process of forming an agreement to build a climbing wall in the gym area. That will create 2 classroom spaces. I'm very excited about that. So on the west side, we plan to have a larger classroom space that's something like 2 conference rooms. And then the east side of what will be the climbing wall will be a smaller classroom space. Those spaces currently don't exist. It is a large gymnasium. So when folks talk about, wanting to see the spaces or have room capacities, that simply isn't, I don't have an answer to that yet. We're working really hard to get that lined up so that we can get a climbing wall built in the second quarter. So in this winter, the winter months, but we don't have a timeline on that yet because we don't have the agreement. So those will be the classroom spaces. The sanctuary area will be some form of hall / classroom / auditorium potentially. I anticipate it being a modular space so that can be used for anything from a gala-like event to a large classroom facility to a movie screening. Lots of ideas. Currently, it's filled with pews. So it's not a viable space to be used yet. And up until last week, it was filled with odds and ends and furniture and large pieces of whiteboard and chalkboards. So we moved in November, and I know sometimes that feels like that's a long time, but it has been a very rapid progression through moving a bunch of junk, putting it in our offices, really prioritizing building space for our staff so that we can keep running CMC while we then develop the classroom spaces that will become our program spaces. So then this other doorway over here that I'm circling with my cursor is going to be the youth programs entrance. So this is where we'll bring kids in, ideally and intentionally through here and straight into a climbing wall back here. And then the blue area is offices. So that's where all the staff are housed. And we've built those out so folks have functional workspaces, and we have been hard at work. And it's a tough balance sometimes to strike between making sure we're answering all those emails and, gosh, we still need to clean up the gym floor or build the storage area. So this last piece back here is a stage, which has amazing storage underneath it that we'll be able to pull out to have like all the youth programs, shoes and harnesses pulled out on a long cart and then tuck it away again. And on top of the stage, we've built storage for our press, books, as well as tons of gear. So that's a quick tour of the space in general, and hopefully that illuminates the fact that we don't have set classroom spaces yet. And a good portion of the building is being used by another organization. So I hope that clarifies some of that. I also want to share, see if I can get to it, a little bit more about, I think there was a question about property lines.
Yes.
Ashley, was there a specific question on that?
Robbie asked where the property line was. Specifically, I'm sure if you look online, we back right up to the Coors, like their loading area there.
Okay, so I'm going to try something. You're looking at a crazy looking map that is the corner of McIntyre. So McIntyre's over here in this yellow line I'm drawing. 32nd is right here. Again, oriented north at the top of the page. And the building is here-ish, drawing with a cursor. Our parking lot, I'm going to do in green. So we just have this, it's like a sidewalk, and then parking spaces along the building and along the outside by the road here. Look at that, that's beautiful. And then you might have seen, if you drive past, there's a little fence back here with a gate in it. This goes back to about, I'm going to say an acre. I'm not always good at judging land, but we have about 3 acres. So it's about an acre of like a grassy field that overlooks Coors and the retention ponds and an eagle's nest and a wild little pond and a couple of ditches. It's really pretty and peaceful if you just look over Coors. It's a lovely spot. And we have about 9,000 ideas for what to do with this little piece of land. But it's an exciting opportunity to be able to play with what we can do. We can do many things on top of each other. We've talked about conservation. We've talked about youth programs. We've talked about, I'm very excited about outdoor bathroom facilities. Everything from like a van park to building more climbing facilities out back. So really exciting ideations about what to do with that space. To answer some other questions that I know are percolating into people's minds right now, this area, I'll use a different color. I'm going to go purple. This area over here is currently a big open field. That is not ours. Doesn't belong to us. That is being developed into, I'm going to say retirement townhomes. Like they're going to be pretty fancy, I think, but there's going to be townhomes in this space. And then they are, I'm going to use a different color. This is kind of fun. green. They're going to build this into kind of a private green space. There's a pond right here, and they're going to build a bridge over the ditch, and we can build a bridge over our ditch and connect to that and use it as well. So that was a really important and exciting part of this purchase, that we knew there would be green space developed behind us that we'd be allowed to use. So again, tons of opportunity for youth programs, for, you know, if it ever snows here again, to have snowshoe accessibility, to put on snowshoes and just get people standing upright. There's probably some stream ecology that can happen back there. Just endless ideas. And that's probably a couple of years out before that is built out. But just so everyone knows, that property does not belong to us, but we will have access to the green space behind it. And there'll be some fancy townhomes to the west of our property.
Thank you
Hopefully,
so much.
that answers a lot of questions all at once.
That was a lot packed into one thing. I appreciate, and the visuals are super helpful. I love your artwork, as always.
Thanks. Cursor drawing. Who knew?
Wayne kind of commented in there about the grassy space will be super nice for participants to use. Absolutely. We have like Madeline said, there's a ton of ideas for what to go out there. You know, a beacon course to work with during the winter time, a bike, you know, berm park or something. You know, there's lots of ideas for sure. So
I can answer Tim's question in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
So again, to be clear, I'll go back to that other draw. Oh, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Let's see what I can do there. We own the entire building, and we own those 3 acres in red. So you're saying regarding the space that is rented by another organization, we own that space. We are renting it to them. It is a 2-year lease that they have right now. And after that term, we'll reassess. There's a lot of unknowns about whether we will expand into that space, if they might, you know, renegotiate and have a longer rental. That's a future me will know the answer to that in a couple years. But right now that is owned by us, but it is rented and used by another organization.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Madeline. Would you be able to speak to, just based on showing that layout, would you be able to speak to a little bit about, you know, because we are directing this conversation towards school directors and like, you know, getting the space ready to actually host courses and classes. And obviously, based on the layout there, we don't have classrooms for people to go into. So would you be able to speak to kind of what that time, if there is a timeline? Okay. Thank you.
You teed it up. I got you. So we are working really hard to get this space ready. We know what classes and courses look like and what your needs are. And at this time, because of all the unknowns, as I said, we don't even have an agreement in place to build the climbing wall, which will be an interruption to any space we could create right now. We are going to ask that folks continue to plan on reserving alternative spaces through 2025, into and through 2025. We hope to have things open within this year, but I don't want to set a false expectation. So if folks plan on reserving alternative spaces, Mary is primed to continue to work with you. We're bolstering those resources so that you have vetted places that you can host courses at. And I know it's a burden, but I think it is better than the alternative of opening it and then closing it again and then opening it and having to reschedule again. So just plan on using alternative locations. While we don't have that ready, we are happy to announce that we're going to reopen the offices for our usual business hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 to 6 on January 14th. So we'll go back to being able to have folks come into the office, talk to Mary and Roger, do their CMC business on January 14th. That'll reopen. So we're excited to have that available to folks. And then we'll continue to work on building out those spaces so we can have a calendar and get folks in the building as soon as it makes sense and is a sustainable place to host.
Yeah. Thanks, Madeline. I'm excited to start seeing some of your faces back in the office again. So this is exciting. Well, on the heels of that, we had a really a great question from Wayne, who has been in the building several times, helping with our volunteer days when we were actually moving, also working diligently to get WTS stuff set up. Our TCS folks have been doing the exact same thing. So we've had a ton of volunteer involvement in getting some of our more pointed areas set up. So Wayne's question is, the CMC building brings great excitement and possibilities. Currently, yes, we are in transition. What can we as leaders and directors communicate to our membership about how they can help with the transition? We all want to get the building functional as quickly as possible. Believe me, we are all on the same page. And Graham, I'm going to ask you to kind of speak to some of those upcoming opportunities that we might have.
Great. Yeah, I think you nailed it. We were floored by everyone that came out and helped get us into the building. It did look like a shipping container for a little while, and it's slowly kind of evolving from that. And we are in the process of identifying what those opportunities will be for folks to join us for other volunteer days, similar to what we had posted previously, which was kind of an AM shift, a PM shift, back-to-back days, and people, pardon my French, but they kick some ass. Volunteers kick some ass in terms of helping us just kind of move into this new space. So some of that short list, Ashley mentioned the space. We will come up with another name for it other than the sanctuary, but some just this large room is filled with pews and carpet currently. That's a nice shade similar to this right here. So we're gonna repurpose that space, and that will look like moving those pews, pulling up that carpet, and really kind of making that our own multi-purpose space. So that's definitely one. Beyond those pews is a large stage, an altar. And so that will get deconstructed just to kind of maximize different functions that we can use in that room. And I don't know where on that map that Madeline showed, but there is interest in creating a hall of history. So similar to just showing kind of archival documents, event posters, different things like that. So help with creating that. There is another bullet point here about gear, press, storage room, painting. So on that stage currently is a nice wall of plywood, and there's been discussion about just giving that a little bit of a zhuzh, visual reappearance. And then seasonal projects, I think, will be ongoing. And so the short list for those, painting sheds, which just got kind of picked up and dropped, they could probably use a little bit of a facelift. Landscaping around the building is really kind of, it could use some help. And then there's a really neat area. You can imagine in that floor plan that Madeline pulled up, it does kind of create this neat courtyard area that does have a good amount of privacy. And so I think that will be another really nice space for the club to use in a variety of functions. And kind of like all the other ones, there's a lot of ideas. I've heard everything from beer garden, outdoor movies, to Wilderness Trekking School was here today. Joe and Norm was on the phone talking about we need a place to build fires, and so all of the ideas are sort of on the table in discussion. But yeah, that space that Madeline has with the pointer doesn't look like much on this, but it is really, I think it has a lot of potential for creating an outdoor space, courtyard type area. So we're calling all interior, exterior landscape artists. We want all the CMC talent. So cool.
Thanks, Graham.
Yep.
yes, Wayne, definitely heard. We want to get these out as soon as possible. Obviously, moving during this holiday season was tough, like would have been tough if we were just normal humans, but instead we moved 30 years of things out of another building and into a different one. So there's the holidays have been it's kind of a tough time, but we definitely want to get those up there and getting more people in to see the space and seeing the work that's being done, because we have really done a lot of work. It's been quite transformative month. So we definitely want to get people in and working on some of these projects. So from how you all can help us to how we can help you. I know the latter part of Wayne's comment here is, knowing that we're putting this out there, that like courses happening in 2025 need to be considering alternative locations. And we want to do everything that we can to support that and give the options, give the staff support. So I'm going to kick that over to Mary, because she's going to be your main point of contact for all things reservations and connections.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody on the chat with us tonight. And thank you so much for everybody hanging in there with us as we transition to our beautiful new building. Personally, I want to keep the altar because I think new member night has a lot of impact when we're when Ashley and I are speaking from the altar, but that'll probably not happen. Madeline's shaking her head going, oh my God, Mary, no. Anyway, I'm here to help as much as I can to try to get everyone into different space for now. Hopefully we have a lovely home to have you at 32nd and McIntyre. It just isn't today. So to that end, I am feverishly working with different event venues, and you guys are calling me and saying, hey Mary, did you know that this space is available, or did you know about this place? So please keep doing that. The best way actually is to email me just at marybradley@cmc.org with that information, a contact person, a phone number, a web link if you can, or just the location, and then I will go out and Google it and get started. We have several different options that are coming in as far as space. The Golden Fire Department has been really good to work with, allowing us up above their firehouse, catty corner from our old location. I'll call it 10th and 32nd. So 10th they have been really good about that. A couple other spaces. I spoke with the Belmar Library over the weekend. Again, I had spoken with them about 3 weeks ago, spoke with them Sunday and reconfirmed. It has space for about 50 people. So it's actually a very, very good space to work with. Parking, we can bring in food, we can bring in drink. They were encouraged to hear about wilderness first aid classes, et cetera, et cetera. I clarified with them because I had some people say, well, whoa, I heard from the libraries that if it's a paid event, we can't be there. The library has reassured me, if it's a class, you aren't ticketing at the door, you aren't collecting money at the door. If it's a course and a class, we are very welcome. The Belmar space is great. It looks out over the park, and we can hold up to about 50 people there. So we have some definite options there on that one. We have a couple other locations. Golden Rec Center is a big one. They tend to be very booked very quickly and way out. So if we want to look at that, schools, I need to kind of coordinate that with you and really start working. So please, please, please email me or call me. Usually the fastest way to get me is my email. It seems like I'm checking it almost 24/7. And Madeline and Ashley, you didn't hear this, but I'll check it over our holiday break. Hold your ears, la, 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 didn't hear. But I will check and then get emailed back to you. So we'll get you taken care of in whatever way we can. I will get you put into space as quickly as I can, or come up with some different options. But rest assured, that's what my number one priority is.
Thank you, Mary. It's a lot of work, so I don't know if there's like virtual snaps for Mary out there or something. She's doing a lot of work on
Well, thank
that,
you, Graham.
so. Okay, so I will also just, I'm gonna kick it back to Graham real quick because I know we're kind of going back and forth on we know that it's kind of an inconvenience to not be able to use the building yet, and believe us, we really wish we could have invited you into this space right away and that would have been 100% ready. But we're such a unique organization that it takes some time in the space to actually understand how to function in here. So there are a couple current ways that we are letting that members and volunteers can use the building, and I'm going to ask Graham to kind of dive into that a little more.
Yes, so the resources that are available for folks at this time is basically the space outside. You can come and you can do a car share, drop vehicles here. It is, I haven't timed it, but I'm guessing it's probably under 2 minutes from 58 to the parking lot off of 58, off that exit. So hopefully it's just as convenient as you would do for if you're coming from Denver or from the north, from the south, stopping there, drop the vehicle, and then head up into the mountains with the group. The bathrooms are not available, so that's the only asterisk with that at this time. There have been some folks that have used some of the outdoor space around here, and the request there is that it would be coordinated, and there isn't bathrooms included in that at this time. But we're happy to have folks use the property.
Perfect. Thanks, Graham. Lisa asked in here about booking paid spaces or just free. Our priority is trying to find you free spaces, but if you have that budget built in already, absolutely, like we can work with that. A lot of the places that we're reaching out to, Mary would tell you this too. We are a nonprofit, so kind of leveraging that status with people and kind of emphasizing that community connection has been helpful. To get us places for free and save a little bit of money there. So, but feel free, talk with Mary about that, insert that kind of budget line in there for sure. Okay, so I don't want to discredit, there was one question that was submitted through the form. Just to reiterate, this call is really intended to discuss the West 32nd Ave property, but I didn't want to discredit the submission. We did have Christine ask about how CMC is viewing the request to create shortened wilderness first aid refresher course. I know this is a topic on people's mind and is probably a whole other fireside chat. So I wanted to ask Graham to speak a little bit on just kind of our risk management strategy around this and why the decision has been made that trip leaders need to maintain that wilderness first aid certification on a bi-yearly, like every 2 years. So Graham, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's definitely not just that individual member's question. It's a common question. In general, the general response for us, the decision we landed on was that we are aligning our curriculum with the Wilderness Medicine Education Collaborative. So it's not CMC's wilderness medicine standards, but we're aligning with this collaborative. That includes, I'll just name a few: Solo, Wilderness Medicine Associates, Desert Mountain Medicine, ARI, WMTC, Medical Training Center, and then Knowles are also part of this. And it basically gives our organization, just some credibility in terms of just where we set those, the standards that we adhere to in the industry. If you type in wilderness first aid, you can find a lot of flavors, a lot of variety, completely online, 4 hours, pay by phone, all sorts of stuff. And that's this is our set of standards. So they're not ours that we're creating, but we're working with Backcountry Pulse as part of this collaborative as well, who we're aligning with. So as part of those, some of the kind of the key points, it is a 16-hour curriculum. There is in-person instruction for that learning experience. It isn't offered hybrid. That was an exception that happened during COVID, but that's no longer available. And I think those are kind of the main ones, and they do list out. I can send specifics if you're interested. So that is a 2-year certification process. So there is that renewal, and there is not a different version in that renewal process. I have personally, I have my wilderness first responder, and I have taken a wilderness first responder recert, which can also happen with WFA, and I've done that a dozen times. So I can empathize with you, and I understand. And there is a essentially as a shelf life for that knowledge. And so this is what we are doing. So thanks for the question.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Also, just to reiterate, I know this has been a question too. We are committed to supporting our trip leaders 100% of their wilderness first aid costs. No trip leader, no school director. You should be able to apply through the Eckhart Roeder Scholarship System for 100% of your wilderness first aid costs. So just making sure that information gets put out there again, so that no one's paying that $280 for their course. So thank you to all of our wonderful speakers. Appreciate you all and the expertise that you carry with the CMC. I do see we've got some questions coming in the chat. We have reached the end of our form submission. So if there is something in here that you feel didn't get answered, or you'd like some more clarity on, please pop that in there. I'm going to start up here. Wayne, thank you for bringing this. Madeline mentioned the capital campaign that we'll be launching, just to continue to fund these large scale projects that we have coming up. We have also, been effectively running our year-end campaign, Colorado Gives Day. It's the season of giving, my friends. And we appreciate all of that, both monetary support and your volunteerism in general is so appreciated and is what makes CMC. So thank you all. Christine, thanks for addressing the issue here. It seems like there's a little bit more discussion here about the wilderness first aid requirements, which again probably could be its whole own other fireside chat. So we have heard this before, and I appreciated Graham's explanation about our participation with the Wilderness Medicine Education Collaborative. I actually didn't know that, so I liked hearing that. I'll wait in here a little bit longer if there's any other questions or thoughts. Otherwise, we're going to get 20 minutes of our lives back. And
I'll buy you some time, Ashley, by thanking you so much for putting this together again, the second Fireside Chat. I really appreciate this forum for folks to be able to get questions answered and have a little FaceTime. And also, we just did a fantastic Colorado Gives Day. So many thanks to you and Gabe for a super successful Colorado Gives. And to everyone who donated.
Exactly. Wayne,
Thanks.
Definitely also heard, love these things, love getting to see all of your faces. So appreciate all of you a lot. Wonderful. All right, Joe's got a question in here for us. Will groups continue to pay a portion of our course revenues, or can we plan to retain all of that at the group level? Madeline, is that a question you would feel comfortable addressing?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Well, there's a couple pieces to that. So course revenues do have credit card fees taken out of them currently. that is ongoing. And I am working with the board on a strategic plan initiative that aims to shift some of the funding to be able to cover the overhead of CMC. Currently, we have a lot of costs that I think groups and courses don't necessarily see, but things like our insurance that allow us to do this, all these programs, the ongoing cost of having a website, our accounting, the boring stuff in the background. So we'll be updating that a little bit. I don't have specific numbers yet. That's something the board's working on this year, but that, I guess I'm going to say that will probably be shifting over this next year.
I think, and just to be like really clear on that, Madeline, what you're saying is currently the only fees that are shared that our office takes in are the credit card fees.
Correct.
And the rest, of course, revenue currently is directed
Correct.
Towards groups wholly.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, no, Joe, thanks for asking. Obviously we want that too. We want to make sure that it's clear where budgets are coming from and going and things like that. So thanks for the question, Joe. You had some thanks from Eric. I think that means that they're probably gone, and Christine, but appreciate that they said thank you. But if again, maybe hopefully getting back maybe now 15 minutes of your life back, but I'd like to give that back to you. All right, I think I'm gonna shut it down. I'm gonna shut it down. Okay. As a reminder, I will share this out with everybody so you'll get the link.